natural barriers possible. High tides that fell to mud flats in hours, a tortuous channel too narrow to accommodate an invading force, and 2 islands guarding the approaches. High tide did not last long enough to put our entire force ashore, so the morning attacking units would be marooned from reinforcements until the evening tide. During the day, our ships would be sitting ducks for shore batteries and unfriendly air attack. And once the late tide did come in, there were less than 2 hours to make the assault, breach or scale the 16-foot seawall, strike inland, seize and secure a perimeter, and tie in with other units for the night. Minute planning could turn these obstacles into advantages and gain the indispensable element of surprise, provided the battle plans could be executed on a split-second timetable.
It is D-2. 6 Navy destroyers anchor under the chin of Wolmedo Island. Begin their methodical destruction of its defenses. Aircraft from the carriers Philippine Seas, Valley Forge, and Boxer continue the softening process. Burn away concealing cover, exposing the enemy and his positions for the assault, which will come at the morning high tide, some 45 minutes after sunup, September 15th, 1950. Enemy guns hidden in caves return the fire, revealing themselves for annihilation. By 5:30 a.m. D-Day, our attack transports and their assault forces have maneuvered their way through the tricky channel and into position. Rocket ships lay down the final barrage. We begin the half-mile run to the island over what, in 2 hours with the low tide, will be a mud flat. 2 minutes before we hit the island, naval fire is lifted. Marine corsairs take over, strafe the enemy until our leading waves are 50 yards offshore. We have several objectives: to seize the high ground with the radio tower and botanical gardens, to seal the causeway leading into Inchon and prevent the enemy's reinforcing the garrison on Wolmedo. Our tanks are brought ashore to assist in the operation. When the island is secured, Phase 1, Inchon invasion, is ended. One if removed. But now the tide has receded. Mud flats surround the area. Navy landing ships are marooned, imprisoned from maneuver, sitting ducks for any enemy attack. Navy and Marine planes fly an isolation zone of 25 miles, bombing, strafing, preventing any enemy reinforcement from the land, driving off or destroying any enemy aircraft. Navy guns bombard all possible approaches. The enemy is stunned. He does not counterattack. Less than half an hour before sunset, the evening tide crests. The main assault is underway. Now begins the race against time, the race against darkness, the race against confusion. On Red Beach, north and east of Wolmedo, the first waves utilizing guide boats hit their assigned areas. Following waves land on the wrong beaches. Precious time is lost in reorganization, and darkness is approaching. Naval gunfire has breached the 16-foot seawall, and some units climb over on ladders. Engage the enemy in their fire pits, drive over them, and advance into the city of Inchon. Observatory Hill resists. It is overcome. An enemy machine gun spits at us from the sanctuary of a church. It is silenced.
Before midnight, the regimental objective had been reached and the units were tied together against enemy counterattack. To the south, on Blue Beach, the same naval gunfire which had breached the seawall and helped the Red assault units had created a rock and ice slide. The Marines were forced to climb a 16-foot seawall. Cargo nets were installed and sections of the wall were blasted by high explosives to improve the situation. But in spite of this delay, the rain and the darkness, the regiment obtained its objectives by 2 a.m.
During the night, the enemy brings 6 tanks and a task force to the outskirts of Inchon. Marine tank infantry polish off 3. 500-pound bombs and napalm from Marine Corsairs decommission 2 others. But in retaliation, the odds of war claim one of our planes. Behind us at the offloading area, the supplies come ashore. The seawall is dynamited to permit more rapid movement. Near the airfield, more enemy tanks and enemy infantry bar the progress. Briefly. Between the Inchon landing and the capture of Seoul, 53 caviar cans are sighted. 48 are destroyed. The other 5 are deserted by their enemy crewmen. We have met the fabulous T-34 before. He can be had. He has been had. 48 hours after landing at Inchon, Kimpo Airfield is ours. Supplies for the drive to Seoul begin arriving shortly thereafter.
With Kimpo Airfield secured, the Marines assaulted the high ground commanding the area of the Han River, which had been selected as the site of their crossing.
500 enemy troops attack us. 80% of them become casualties. We lose 7, 2 dead, 5 wounded. The road is heavily mined. Several of our tanks have their treads blown by landmines. Enemy artillery fire is heavy. Progress is slow. We choose to cross the Han River at the ferry site northeast of Kimpo Airfield. Here it is 400 yards wide. The town of Hangzhou is on the opposite bank. The LVTs begin their crossing. Halfway across, they are met by murderous enemy fire from a nearby hill crest. They are recalled, and it is determined that the main effort will be made at dawn. There are many acts of personal bravery and heroism before this resistance is overcome. The fighting in Yongdong-po is bitter. One unit, isolated by the night, fights off 5 T-34s and the accompanying enemy infantry. 5 attacks are beaten off, and the enemy withdraws from Yongdong-po. For 2 days, we fight to take the heights west of Seoul. In the 9 days since we have landed at Inchon, we have sustained 2,500 casualties. These same 9 days have enabled the enemy to bring reinforcements from the south. Every hill commanding our approach to Seoul is a core of bitter resistance. Each is overcome. 10 days after Inchon, we launched the attack upon the city of Seoul. They have mined the streets to slow our advance, to remove our tank support. They fire on us from the rooftops, from behind the hedges, the rail embankment, the roadblocks. It is costly. It will take 3 days and nights of incessant fighting to capture the city.
A conference of Army and Marine commanders was held. The Corps commander asserted that the Communists would defend their positions block by block, street by street, alley by alley, and house by house. By the nightfall of September the 25th, it was unmistakably apparent that his evaluation was correct.
The preparation continues for our night attack ordered by the Corps. Before we can launch it, the enemy launches his own. Artillery fires so fast and often that they burn out some of their gun barrels. But when this fire slackens, the enemy strikes again. By 5:30 a.m., 30,000 rounds have been fired, and most units are low on ammunition, must be resupplied under fire. Press toward the center of the city. Their barricades increase in size, strength, and number. A pattern for their destruction evolves. Riflemen fight forward, find shelter and vantage, build up covering fire. Then, engineers move in. Exposed, vulnerable, they remove or detonate the mines and are felled by enemy lead. Then, the tanks move forward. They are peppered from every direction with small arms fire which shoots away their antennas, periscope heads, phone boxes. The enemy retires to the next blockade, and the maneuver is repeated endlessly. It takes almost an hour to reduce each barricade, and there are hundreds. It would require longer, except for the wonderfully coordinated close support provided by the Marine planes. They drop their bombs a block ahead, help clear the path with rockets, machine guns. Mid-afternoon of September 26th, we are in the courtyard of Changdok Palace. Fighting, but to all intents and purposes, Seoul is captured. The enemy in the south is cut off, and his certain defeat is now but a matter of time. American flags spring up. One flies from the palace flagpole, another from the palace dome. Still another graces the French and American consulates. We raise one over the Soviet consulate, the finest emblem ever hoisted by its halyards. Even as the fighting continues, one street is sealed for the triumphant return of the Honorable Syngman Rhee, President of the Republic of Korea. A communist challenge to all free nations has been answered. We have spilled our blood so that our ravished contemporary can resume its honorable place in the sovereignty of the free nations.
As enemy units in the south found themselves in an untenable position, scores of thousands surrendered and later sought the sanctuary of freedom rather than return to virtual slavery. Others discarded their uniforms, dressed as natives, masqueraded as South Koreans, and made their way northward. Look at this face. Is he friend or enemy? Is this man freeman or vassal? Will these help rebuild this battered nation, or will they attempt to subvert and destroy it? And these, did they nurture and protect our stragglers, or did they fire upon them from ambush? Did he disclose our enemy's whereabouts, or did he reveal us to the enemy? Which is friend and which is foe?
In the faces of Korea, we see an ageless equation. Things equal to the same thing are equal to each other. And so the face of the enemy is also that of a friend. It resembles the face of his cousin who fought beside us, or that of his nephew who fought against us. It resembles his uncle who died for freedom, slain by his stepson. The faces of Korea, north or south, are identical. All that distinguishes friend from foe is intent, the beliefs he holds in his heart.
Brother against brother, father against son, cousin against uncle, a family divided, a house divided, a nation divided to the death, split by an imaginary parallel, bounded on the north by communism, on the south by democracy. Of such seed are Armageddons born.
This is Korea, 1950. Phase 2, the United Nations counterattack, is progressing satisfactorily. One of the hydra heads of international communist aggression has been severed. The Russian-equipped, Russian-trained, and Russian-sponsored North Korean invader has been contained, defeated. His swan song echoes through the hilly corridors of the Yalu and is heard in Moscow. The planned communist victory, the invasion of South Korea, has become communist rout, defeat, embarrassment, loss of face. In the Orient, face lost must be regained. But communism is a wily beast, with its brain in Moscow, its heart non-existent, its tentacles everywhere. Too wily to commit its own legions and suffer the loss and wreckage of a possible Third World War. The brain prepares to take a free shot at democracy, readies a fatted ally for the sacrifice. From Manchuria, from Sanctuary, in spite of assurances that the United Nations forces will not cross the Yalu, malevolent eyes squint at us along 200,000 gleaming rifle barrels. A new head has been raised. Communist Red China